Before the council chamber even acknowledged the human delegation, a shift rippled through the gathered tiers, barely perceptible, like gravity changing just enough to make everyone lean. "Next on the agenda," murmured the herald, "is the testimonial briefing on sovereign human adaptive expansion across classified death worlds." The hall dimmed. Counselors of dozens of species reclined in their grav thrones, their expressions oscillating between amused skepticism and thinly veiled annoyance. The speaker's podium activated, revealing a single human, not two or three as usual, just one. She wore no uniform, no regalia, only a dark, pressure-sealed flight suit, marked with faded emblems and charred edges. Her hair was shaved close, her eyes gray and unblinking. "Designation?" asked the Iraq chairman, voice like a meat grinder under velvet. She looked up. "Mara Voss, civilian contractor, terraforming division, Earth Expansion Directive." Silence. Not military, not a diplomat, not even a scientist. "A civilian?" Laughter sparked among the Iraq, echoing like cracked crystal. The Clavian delegate openly chuckled. "Are we being mocked?" Mara didn't blink. She stepped forward, keyed her wrist implant, and the chamber's central display activated. Not a chart, not a speech. A live transmission. Planetary designation, RX-119 Beta, a swirling hellscape of ash storms and plasma geysers. The feed zoomed, revealing a moving settlement, not rolling but slithering, adapting, stretching, curling along lava channels like a machine born of serpents and survival. "This was built by 37 humans," Mara said, voice flat, "with no orbital support, no council aid, and no evacuation option." Gasps flitted across the tiers. Some neural translators stuttered. "You placed a habitat," one Zalveth whispered, "on a shifting magma belt." Mara looked around. "No," she corrected. "We placed ourselves there. The habitat came later." She let that settle, then showed another feed. Footage of a woman planting seedlings on a frostbitten slope as lightning clawed the sky behind her. Then another. Children learning orbital mechanics inside a crater shield. While outside, nanodrones welded shielding against a radiation surge. "You think our survival is accidental, a mistake in your models, an outlier." Mara stepped back, letting the footage fill the room, more of it now. Worlds classified as lethal, brutal, impossible. Each now glowing with human heat signatures, each now whispering, "We were here." "In truth," she said, "you never understood that humanity doesn't fear death worlds." She looked at them all. "We just speak their language." The council chamber had never been so quiet. Delegates exchanged glances across their sectors. Feathers rustled, scales clicked, and 1,000 silent languages flickered through microgestures and neural links, yet no one spoke aloud. Mara Voss remained motionless. The silence stretched until the Selnari delegate, a crystalline entity whose voice was pure chime, finally said, "Explain your presence. Why are you here, not your diplomats?" "Because you wouldn't listen to them," Mara replied. Another ripple of offense pulsed through the tiers. The Clavians scoffed. "We listened, we laughed. That is not silence." Mara keyed her implant again. Another feed bloomed into view. Not a death world this time, a council-certified colony, Aurelia Prime. Pristine skies, towering biodomes, peaceful. Then it rewound. A council escort ship entering orbit, a brief scan, then silence, and fire, a weapon strike from orbit. This was supposed to be a joint colony, Mara said. The human delegation was already on the surface. The feed slowed, heat blooms, screaming alerts, explosions. Your patrol ship claimed a navigational error. The official report called it an atmospheric malfunction. She looked up. There were children. A hollow ache entered the chamber like smoke. Even the most stoic delegates looked away. The Zalveth's tendrils curled in tightly. The Valari blinked in defensive pattern. Mara stepped forward. We buried them in ice so thick it cracked titanium tools, and we stayed, rebuilt. Not because we were told, not for pride, but because if we left, they'd die twice. The Clavian tried to speak, but stopped. You think we're just survivors, she said. But we're architects, carvers of life in places you called void. You assign numbers to planets and warnings to maps. We drew homes where your maps had skulls. She raised one hand. A projection showed humans building wind harnessers on a methane storm world. Another feed showed a child drawing pictures inside a bunker, laughing as a meteor storm raged outside. You came to these planets with probes and drones. You saw death. We came with hammers and hope. We saw potential. The Iraq chairman leaned forward. Why now? Why this assembly? Mara paused. Because you've begun to reclassify our colonies. You've sent warships where once you sent scribes. You've declared our settlements unsanctioned growth. You want to push us back. She stepped closer to the center. But Earth does not retreat. The chamber trembled slightly as her words settled. Several delegates turned toward the council overseers. Then Mara spoke one final sentence. This is not a protest, it's a prelude. Hours passed since Mara's testimony, but the tremor it left still echoed through the council complex. No new speaker had taken the floor. Agendas paused. Internal comms filled with queries from ambassadors who had never before questioned Earth's voice, now demanding explanations, positions, reassessments. Mara stood quietly in the visitors' enclave, a narrow, arched chamber lined with translucent memory panels. Two humans joined her, one clad in a hybrid exoframe, the other in faded, diplomatic silks. You threw the script out the airlock, muttered the one in silks, Ambassador Lennox. We were supposed to ease them in, gradually. We're past easing, Mara said. You saw the deployment logs. 10 fleets rerouted toward Deathworld sectors in the last 30 standard days. That wasn't curiosity. That was containment. The one in the exoframe, Callan, ex-military, now Earth Defense Liaison, nodded. They're preparing to box us in. Think we'll react like the Tervani did, fold under embargo. They don't understand what keeps us alive. Mara's expression didn't shift. Let them understand. Back in the council chamber, the Iraq chairman conferred in low, rhythmic clicks with the Selnari. Delegates reviewed war doctrine clauses and recalibrated ancient treaties. The human presence was no longer quaint. It was critical. Suddenly, an alarm pulsed through the chamber, not from within, but from the Galactic perimeter net. It was a mass jump signature, hundreds of vessels, not Varn, not pirates, something new. Unknown contact approaching the Borealis Verge, reported the chamber's AI interface. Unverified origin, scanning. Panic stirred. The Verge was deep human-claimed space. Within moments, encrypted Earthfleet protocols took over the feed. A voice, crisp and unyielding, echoed through the hall. Stand down, Council interference. This is the Sol Vanguard. These incursions into Earth-aligned sectors are violations of the 213 Accord. Withdraw or be repelled. Gasps erupted. The chairman's mandibles flexed. You deployed a full fleet? Into the Verge? Without council oversight? Mara's voice returned to the center chamber, this time live. No, we didn't deploy them. They volunteered. A new feed displayed the fleet. Dozens of ships, not all Terran in make. Vessels of hybrid tech. Solari plasma hulls paired with Earth thrusters. Volari stealth ships equipped with Deathworld cloaking cores. Even 2 Varn defector cruisers. The implication was stunning. Callan appeared beside Mara in the chamber. These aren't just Earth ships. They're allied survivors. Species your council abandoned. They found a home on our worlds, and now they stand with us. The chairman pounded his platform. This is defiance. Mara locked eyes with him. No, this is consequence. The council chamber plunged into a storm of procedural chaos. Protocol drones zipped from tier to tier. Legal aids screamed into translators. Emergency session lights bathed the arena in furious red and amber. But Mara Voss didn't flinch. Neither did Callan. They stood like obelisks at the center of it all, watching as the galaxy's most powerful governing body lost its grip. Chairman Iraq struck his platform again, this time activating the emergency override. This assembly is in crisis. The Sol Vanguard's deployment violates interstellar sovereignty. I move for immediate sanctions against Earth and its affiliates. Mara took a step forward. So Earth is a threat now? A week ago, you called us irrelevant settlers with war trauma. The Valari envoy hissed. You escalated first. We survived your indifference, she snapped back. That's not escalation. That's adaptation. Ambassador Lennox, now standing beside Callan, addressed the hall in measured tones. Let's clarify something. The Sol Vanguard is a defensive union. Every vessel in that fleet came willingly, not as subjects, but as peers. The feed shifted again. A representative from the Salary Confederacy appeared. Once decimated by pirate incursions while the Council debated tax codes, they now bore the banner of Earth's pact. Her voice trembled but held firm. We owe our survival to Terran aid. While the Council observed protocol, Earth sent food, engineers, and fighters. A stunned silence fell. Then another face appeared, Dravak of the Van defectors. We were bred for war, abandoned when the war ended. Earth gave us purpose again. This is propaganda, spat the Clavian delegate, a media stunt. Callan smiled grimly. Then test us. Push, see how real it becomes. The Council paused, not out of agreement, but caution, fear. Chairman Iraq finally asked, What do you want? What does Earth demand? Mara answered, Recognition of autonomous Death World colonies, an immediate halt to reclassification patrols, and the reinstatement of diplomatic parity. You think you can dictate terms now? No, Mara said. We're offering you a chance to keep up. The chamber dimmed once more as delegates recessed, murmurs echoing like a tide. Earth hadn't declared war. It hadn't attacked. It had simply shown up, with proof, with allies, with resolve. The galaxy had laughed when humanity whispered. But Earth was done whispering. Councillor Chambers remained shrouded in a haze of debate and shadowed diplomacy for the next 6 hours. Delegates scrambled to recalibrate strategies, isolate Earth's maneuver, and search for fractures in the unexpected coalition. But no cracks appeared. The pact held firm. Behind closed doors, Council aides interrogated their own intelligence networks. How had Earth unified so many broken fragments of the galactic fringe? Why did no one detect the buildup? The answer, buried in thousands of overlooked reports and dismissed signals, was simple. Because no one took Earth seriously. Mara Voss, meanwhile, sat alone in a temporary quarters carved into the diplomatic wing. A basic cot, a small terminal, and one window overlooking the Council's main spire. She wasn't celebrating. She was calculating. Callan entered, dropping a datapad on the table. 4 more systems just pledged alignment, small but symbolically strong. How are the Council factions reacting? The Kethrali are pushing for isolation. The Ulvanai want open war. The Urak, they're split. Then we press the advantage. Callan tilted his head. You're serious? We didn't come here to posture. We came to shift the axis. Back in the main chamber, Earth's allies took the stage one by one. A once pirate captain from the Outer Reach described how Terran medics rebuilt his crew. A sentient AI representative from the Zereth Nebula recounted being granted asylum on Earth when the Council had deemed it a rogue protocol. The chamber, once a place of rigid hierarchy and polished rhetoric, now became something else. A confessional. One by one, voices rose, not in fear, but gratitude. Loyalty not bought, but earned. When Mara stepped back to the platform, she did not raise her voice. She didn't need to. For centuries you governed with distance. You used bureaucracy to mask your silence. You calculated survival as if it were a commodity. We built survival into our bones. Her hand hovered over the terminal, and a final image flickered into view. Earth. Not the polished, sanitized Earth from Council brochures. Real Earth. The scarred coasts, the fire-forged cities, the forests regrown from war,
The home that didn't just survive, but refused to stop evolving. We didn't unite the Forgotten because we promised them power. We reminded them they were never broken. You just stopped looking. A hush fell.
Chairman Iraq's voice was gravel. What if we refuse? Mara's reply was soft. Then you'll finally hear what Earth sounds like when it roars. The following cycle, the Council convened in emergency plenary, a rare occurrence invoked only during galactic wars or extinction-level crises. Delegates arrived with security escorts. The usual fanfare was absent. The chamber was still, like the universe itself held its breath. Chairman Iraq presided, his posture unusually rigid. The dais showed an amended agenda, declaration of formal policy recognition, human expansion territories. Mara Voss stood at the base of the podium once more, flanked by Callan and Lennox. This time her presence was not questioned. No mockery followed, only the dense gravity of inevitability. As the declaration was read aloud, some councillors tried to object. The Ulvanai threatened to withdraw completely. The Clavian demanded further debate, but none of it held. The numbers had shifted, systems had aligned, alliances had moved, and beneath it all, the unmistakable truth pressed down on every delegate. Earth had already changed the map. The vote passed, by a majority. When the result was read aloud, a slow hush rippled through the chamber. Not defeat, not victory, something heavier. The kind of silence that came after tectonic plates stopped moving. Earth's colonies were recognized. The reclassification orders were rescinded. Sanction protocols were nullified. Outside, above the Council spire, Sol Vanguard ships idled in orbit, not as invaders but as sentinels, guardians of a new order. In the quiet aftermath, the Selnari delegate approached Mara privately. You spoke like one of us, they said. Not with fire, with foundation. Why? Mara looked to the starscape beyond the crystal window. Because fear only buys obedience, she said. But understanding, that changes legacy. Later, when the final record was archived, the Council's historian was asked how such a shift could occur without war. His answer became legend. Because the Deathworlders didn't shout, they didn't plead, they just spoke, and the galaxy finally listened.